So then the Giants could be sitting there at 6 and they stick, and they could potentially pick J.J. McCarthy. And so what is your reporting on the Giants' thought process about their quarterback room going into this draft?
I think the Giants, I don't think this is a smokescreen. Like, I think the Giants are legitimately interested in filling that position. The player that I've heard them most connected to at that spot is Drake May. Now, can they get up and get Drake May? I think, where New England's at right now. And again, we'll see, New England's told teams that they are going to listen, like I said earlier, all the way up until while they're on the clock. I ultimately think New England sticks at 3 and probably takes Drake May. So then I think the question becomes, do they like J.J. McCarthy enough to move up for him, or even just to take him at 6? My feeling is that the floor for Marvin Harrison is 6. I think if the Giants were sitting there at 6, they'd have a hard time not taking Marvin Harrison if he was there for him. Where this gets more interesting is if the 4th quarterback is gone and if Marvin is gone, and now they're looking at what do we do if we still want to take a receiver. I think the chalk would say it's Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors isn't perfect from a personality standpoint. There are some questions about, is he hard to coach? Is he tough that way? And if he's a little bit of a pain in the ass, might that hit a little too close to home for the Giants? A pain in the ass receiver from LSU. And I'm not calling Odell names or anything like that, but like if there's like kind of a guy who's difficult, like an LSU receiver who's a little difficult, would that hit a little too hard? Would that hit home a little too much for the Giants? And I think for that reason, Rich, like I wouldn't totally rule out if Marvin's off the board, if they're not taking a quarterback at 6, the idea that maybe they go Rome Odunze over Malik Neighbors. So a lot of interesting moving parts in that area of the draft.
And then 7 through. Wow. So it's here's the thing: is that I don't think Marvin would be available for the Giants at 6 unless McCarthy's already gone. Right.
I think it's one or the other.
I just can't believe Arizona, with 11 draft choices, would say, okay, let's trade down and get more draft choices and not take Marvin Harrison Jr. for Kyler Murray. I don't.
I think that's why they're in a perfect
compute.
spot, though, don't you? I think that's why they're in a perfect spot. Is somebody has to go over the top to get it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So, like, that's the thing is
which
like,
is a pick for next year. You know what I mean? Like,
if you're Minnesota, is it 11-23 and you're 20-25-1? Would you do that? Like, that's a lot. Now, if you're Arizona, you've got 3 first-round picks this year and 2 next year.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
It's interesting.
I don't. Do you think Minnesota likes J.J. McCarthy that much? If they could stick and get Penix at 11,
and that's another question. Like, I think Kevin, like my sense is Kevin O'Connell's got like the confidence that he can make it work with a lot of different quarterbacks. Now, I think the operative question with the Vikings isn't like, do you think you can win with Michael Penix? Do you think you can win with J.J. McCarthy? Do you think you can win with Drake May? Rich, did you see the video of from the church, like the Kevin video from the church from the other day?
No, sir.
Okay, so anybody who saw, he was speaking to this church group the other day, and somebody asked him about quarterbacks. It was actually a really interesting answer he gave. He gave this answer about fixing a quarterback's lower half, and it was really detailed. And it was, I believe you can fix a quarterback's lower half, his footwork, right? That just happens to be the biggest question with Drake May, and maybe the only question with Drake May is like, like fundamentally, it's a little bit like Josh Allen, 6 years ago, where it was like, if you can fix his lower half, he could become a really dynamic passer in the NFL. And so, like, that matches up with a lot of stuff I've heard about the Vikings really liking Drake May. I'm sure you've heard the connections with Josh McCown, how he coached Drake in high school, how, Josh's son played with Drake in high school, all of that different stuff. So I think they're with the Giants and being a team that really likes Drake May. I say that because I think the question after Drake becomes, how do they see the gaps between the players from there? In other words, like, how different do they view J.J. McCarthy from Drake May? And then how different do they view Michael Penix from J.J.? I think they like all of them, but how they view those gaps, I think, is going to inform a lot of their decision making. And obviously, they only know how they view those gaps.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.